I'm here today with David Marlow. Hello, David. You
Good
are
morning.
the Ikigai guy. Is that true?
I am. That is true. Yes.
So you help people find their purpose. So maybe the very first thing is you tell me what is this Ikigai or the Ikiquest? Would you explain
Sure.
that?
Sure. So the idea is to live into our Ikigai, which our Ikigai is living and experiencing your essence, who you really are in your heart, your purpose, and living those out in harmony with whatever you do.
So it's three overlapping circles I've seen.
Yeah.
And one is purpose. The next is,
That's harmony, or yeah, I also call it the who, what, and why, but we can go with this right now. And then essence. On the center, Ikigai.
how do you do that? Let's maybe draw your client when they come to you and they are not clear about that.
Sure. So I won't use their real name, but I worked with a gentleman named Tom, who was in his mid 50s, an executive at a large company. And Tom just felt there was something missing in his life, even though he had been successful. He had been happily married and was still in love with his wife, but felt like that had kind of grown cold. His kids were a little distant, and his career wasn't really what he had hoped it would be. So the basic process that I use, the simple process, is to think of, I call it the three V's. So you get your three verbs that really speak to you, three verbs, your values, things that you value and the values you have in your life. And then you create a verse out of that. So that was one of those needs things. Like he wanted to travel and she wanted security, and felt like just wild travel things weren't going to do that. And so they really talked out both their needs and came up with some places where they could both have what they were looking for, a bit of adventure without big risk. The other thing, he really wasn't very present. And by getting the noise level down and clearing out some of the things, he was much more present with his family, which almost on its own cleared up a number of issues.
Okay, that sounds very desirable. How do you get them? What is your secret here?
Oh, so the secret is getting the noise level down and then uncovering that purpose, uncovering your ikigai. If you watch a kid play and just be themselves, my granddaughter loves to skip, and I just love watching her skip. She's happy. She's just being a kid, being everything she was meant to be, because the world hasn't told her otherwise yet. But as adults, we get into this thing where disappointments happen and failures, and even the words and advice of well-meaning family and friends starts to kind of cover up our ikigai. So part of it is experimentation and trying. And people will often say balance, like work-life balance. I don't like balance because balance implies inequality. Whereas harmony, if you have an orchestra, sometimes the woodwinds are going to be the loudest, and other times it's going to be the brass, and other times it's going to be the percussion, and so forth and so on. Oh, I love this. I think even what you're doing here is a great example of Ikigai. You're not a graphic artist. You're not a commercial artist. There's a deeper thing that's you. And this is one way doing this kind of work and conversation. And I love the way you were interpreting my probably inadequate expressions into something more tangible and being able to illustrate it. I mean, there's so much here about you that's on display as well. And I love that. It's a great example of Ikigai in real time.
In action.
In action. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, yes. Okay.
Thank you so
Wow,
much for this. It was really interesting.
that is great. And thank you for sharing your gift with me. I appreciate you sharing your Ikigai with me today.
Okay, that was it.
All right. Wow, that was fun. That was actually a great time too.